Hey, everybody, welcome again to the Cybersecurity Defense Ecosystem, episode 4. All right. So, we're going to talk about a few things. We get together, my friends here in the cyber world, and we are talking shop a little bit. But also, we all also want to move the conversation along, right? Like what's going on today, what's happening tomorrow, what should we be worried about, that type of stuff. And I'm just here to kind of quarterback the conversation to have these folks tell us what the world's about. Nim, Evgeniy, welcome, man. How are you guys doing?
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for having
Well,
us.
one person seems to be a little more tired than the other, and I think it's because he came back from Black Hat, I believe. So,
Yeah,
Evgeniy, man, what goes, brother? Let's kick this off with Black Hat. Everything is crazy over there. What's going on?
it is definitely very crazy. It is been going on for quite a long time. I do have to say that Black Hat is a bit similar to RSA right now. If you guys never been in Black Hat, it's done in Vegas. I think originally it was done in Vegas because it's supposed to be cheap. Not cheap anymore, quite an expensive city. And for the people in Toronto, it's about 40 degrees Celsius there, even in the evening. And for US, it's like about 110, I believe so. So it's quite hot, not humid. It is good, but definitely a lot going on. It's in a hotel. There is similar idea of people talking. There's vendor presenting. I think there's a one biggest difference between RSA and Black Hat still is at RSA, people more talk about leadership, some new products. At Black Hat, majority of the talks are still focusing about finding new vulnerability, research, something very interesting to find. So it is more geeky, if you can say this, and it's good because it's different.
Interesting. But by the way, what is the damn cost, right, to attend these events? Anybody has broken this down yet? I mean, it's not cheap, right, for
No, it's
folks
about
to
like
attend it.
three iPhones pretty much to go there. You need to buy a ticket. You need to get a hotel. On top of the hotel, usually pay some kind of a tax for the hotel. The ticket to Black Hat is about 2,000, I believe so right now.
Hmm?
But it's similar to RSA. The interesting part at RSA, you can usually get the Expo Pass, is the pass where you can go and see the vendors. At Black Hat, it's not so easy to get and it's quite expensive. It's about $600 to $800, depending when you're buying them. If you just want to get the business pass to understand the vendors and what they do. So definitely not cheap. And from my talking to other vendors, they say there's the booth and the cost of Vegas is a bit more expensive than RSA as well.
Wow. I mean, at the end of the day, it looks like you got to drop what, 8 to 10 grand to kind of like get in there, right?
You just visiting, if you're not vendor, yes, it's going to be depend. You have hotel, you have food, you have the to learning itself, but people still come, people still learn. It was an interesting conversation. If people going to RSA and Black Hat as well, I think majority pick one of them. There is
Okay.
few that goes to both, but there's a difference. Don't get me wrong. Going to RSA in San Francisco, there is no hotels as well. Like it's impossible to find hotel because Vegas is all full of hotels. It's easier to find. But during the RSA, it's very hard to find a hotel.
So it's one or the other, roughly. And if you want to do both, I guess you could do both, but this is not a cheap venture, right? And I mean, I don't know about you, but when I look at these large events like this, I always think about how much of it can I digest. I look at an event and literally it looks like an elephant, but maybe this one looks like a herd of elephants. And how do
Uh,
you eat that damn thing, right? I mean, how much of
yes.
this can you digest the event?
So we have to add that it's not just Black Hat. So there is dev content happening after Black Hat that it's much more geeky and there is no vendors allowed to be there, like
Mm,
directly sponsoring. I think this is why the Black Hat exists. People that have been here longer than me probably can explain better on this part, but this is my understanding. But there's also B-sides that happening usually around big conferences. And this year B-sides was 2.5 days. So it's actually overlap with Black Hat. There's also security like the summer camp there is a lot of events. I
mm.
know people that went for 10, 11 days. So it's one after another, one after another. And you need to learn, you need to communicate, you need to meet people, and you need to party as well because it's Vegas.
It's no
So there
fun.
is a lot of different events in a variety of people and hobbies.
That's a lot of days, man, to take out of your life. But let's just jump over that part. It just seems insane. But Nim, what do you think about investing that amount of time? I mean, how much can you really take back home from this? Is it too much?
That's the big question, right, Julian? Because we all go to all these conferences, but how sticky is the information and how good is the actions coming out of it? Like, so how are you applying what you learned? How are you following up with the contacts you've made? How effectively are you, closing the loop on conversations you've had? And when you go to, like, I didn't go to Black Hat, I went to RSA, but you end up having 50 to 100 conversations a day,
Mm,
not to mention random encounters in the hallway.
mm.
And to be able to encapsulate all of this and actually make it into something tangible or actionable, I think it's like, in my case anyway, it's about 10%. Like it's
So one
really,
part,
really hard to be effective.
A
one
challenge.
part to add to Neem is both RSA and Black Hat. So no, if you never went to one of these events, you cannot go there and say like, okay, I'm just gonna go and see. You
Mm,
have to schedule. You need to understand why you're going there. If you just going there to see the talks and don't meet anyone, it may work. Even so, I will suggest definitely to book everything in advance because you have to walk from place to place. But as Neil mentioned, you're going to meet people in the hall. You're going to meet other people. You're going to connect to vendors. So there is many reasons why to go as well, because pretty much everyone is there. It's a very good way to connect to your peers if you're on the customer side or if you're on the vendor side. It's a very good way to connect with vendors or MSPs because a lot of people are there. This include product management, this include channel, technical people. So you can actually mm, almost like schedule what you want and meet people face to face to get what you need. You may tell me, Evgeny, but now over Zoom, we can do everything remotely. Yes, but it's still different. Face to
mm.
face meetings are always better from personal connection and personal understanding as well. So there is value, but you need to understand what you're doing and how you're going to do that to make sure there's the best value for you there.
I fully agree. Before I go to these things, I sit down and come up with a plan. What is my intention? What do I want to achieve? And how am I going to do it? And especially if it's a multi-day, map out where you're going to be, what you're going to do, and who you need to talk to, and get those in the calendar right away, months before.
Yeah, and you're going to meet people in, like you said, in the elevator. Sometimes it's a little crowded there, but
Yeah.
you can meet people everywhere, right? I mean, I usually meet people at lunch, like the lunch table and the dinner tables, or in the bars, and the bars may be the best place to kind of meet
So that's
people.
a pet peeve. That the food thing is a pet peeve because these conferences, part of my French, have to get their shit together. There's nowhere to eat. There's no restaurants to have a sit down meeting. Like every vendor books every venue out. You're going like
Wow.
5 to 10 blocks to find a place to sit. Like it. Anyway, I'm not gonna rant, but
So
that's
name, think about RSA. Black Hat is even worse because with
Wow.
Black
wow.
Hat, you have X amount of restaurants in the hotel. You're not leaving the hotel. People don't like to leave the hotel. Only they need to go
It's
somewhere,
too
and
hot too.
it's too hot to, or it's going to be a taxi. So if there, you have 10 or 20 restaurants in a hotel, you're right, the big vendor's going to have them for private events. It's not like you can just sit down in the middle of the casino. I was thinking to bring a camp chair next time with me because literally
Machine.
I couldn't find a place to sit. At least at RSA, you can go outside, sit in the park.
Yeah,
Literally, we did meeting in the park as well.
yeah.
So this is a big problem as well from this perspective. You're
Wow.
right that it's a good way to meet people in the evenings in the different events. There's just hundreds of different events that is
Mm.
also hard to find, and it's also create a problem because if you're a vendor or if you're um, service company like Neem or MSSP company as well, the competition on a body and the competition to meet people has become hard as well.
Oh, for sure. Well, look, at the end of this session, we're going to talk about our Cybersecurity Defense Ecosystem Summit, which might be the Shangri-La of events. And but we'll talk a bit about that at the end. But let's talk a bit of what happened in the events. So there was a lot of agentic types talk, and apparently in Black Hat. What's your biggest takeaway there, Evgeny?
Definitely a lot chat about AI. And it's interesting because every vendor had an AI somewhere. But then when you talk to people around, and many people says it's nice that we have
Mm,
AI, but unfortunately, it's not like it's magically silver bullet. It's fix everything. In many cases, it's still not there, and there is no like, okay, I have AI now, it's working. We literally right now have people, many companies are doing pen testing with AI. We have many companies are doing SOC around AI. There's DLP around AI. There's attack. Like everything you can think about, people start using AI. And in many cases, it's good because, for example, here's an example. Like take DLP. If you tell DLP in somebody in enterprise level, they probably would like to shoot you. It's a very hard program to do. There's a lot of false positive. There's a lot of dangerous stuff as well. Because if I see a DLP violation, it's maybe something I don't need to see or I don't want to know, because the moment I know it's a problem, if it's depend how deep you go in the violation, people may lose job because of that. So with AI, we potentially can triage these cases without a human and only escalate the one we have. Also, as everyone, I believe, agree on the blue team, on the defense part, we don't want hundreds of events. Give us the good events. Give me 2, 3, but the ones that mean something. So now with AI, we have this ability to do this. This is some of the good use cases I saw at Black Hat as well. I don't want to name companies and vendors just because we're not promoting a vendor, but there's use cases. If I see this violation, I can just, okay, this is actually not a company violation. Maybe Evgeniy give his personal credit card number, or this is actually Evgeniy cat, but we're not providing company information so we can remove and change. Definitely to help the SOC, because AI can help triage and understand. Now, the question is, how good is information out? The problem I see right now, me as a consumer, even so I'm also on the vendor side in a way, I'm still a consumer as well. How do I validate? How do I know your AI is doing what it's supposed to be doing? So we kind of almost need different type of consulting people that can validate that what you claim you can do is actually doing so.
There's been a lot of AI, whitewashing, right? That's going on. There's an article, I believe, about people doing this, and they're ginning the actual stock market, right? Because you say you got good AI, and then all of a sudden your stock bounces up. But apparently they're onto this, right? So you got to be people are gonna get serious, right? You just can't say you got AI. You gotta really do something proper, right? Nim, what's your take in this agentic game that we're in now?
I think we have a human bias in that when we see a new tool, we right away think about, oh my God, I'm going to use it for this. I want to do it for this. I want to do it for that. And I want to get Agentic to automate this and automate that. But what we don't realize is the bad actors also have AI. Bad actors have already deployed agentic solutions to be able to fool us and get past some of our security controls because they look very, very, very much like a regular transaction. So it's almost like coming to the realization that everything that we have as the good guys in the battle, in the war against cybercrime, the bad guys have it and maybe a little better, right?
You think they got it better? Yeah,
I think though. I mean,
wow.
one of the big things that we've been talking a lot about is mischief viruses. Do you know what those are? I mean, it's professional attacks orchestrated by bad actors that have viruses that are silent. They look very normal, like they get through all our security layers, and they're able to quickly come in, infiltrate, and deploy ransomware, or also facilitate living off the land, getting through our detection systems.
Jeez.
Their AI has been simulated.
Name, for people that are not in cyber, can you explain quickly living off the land? In case if I doesn't know
Living
what
on
it
the
is.
land, yes. LOL.
That's what it's called.
Not
It
laugh
sounds
out
like a
loud.
dead, like a dead zombie thing, man, living on the land.
So there's a whole bunch of philosophies behind it, but to summarize it, it's a bad actor sitting in your system, not doing anything, watching, listening, observing, learning, and occasionally querying, searching, and building their knowledge about your company. They're trying to make their own records of who should they flag as high value targets, what documents are crown jewels, what systems that your business cannot live without, who can they fool to do business email compromise, invoice fraud. These are things that they're constantly looking into.
Like surveillance, man.
It's complete surveillance. I mean, ransomware actors like Killen, for example, have been known to stay, 60 to 90 days living off the land before they decide, they sort of find their way out and then deploy the ransomware. So it's getting better and better, and they're getting smoother and smoother. That smooth criminal? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole different song for this, man. Smooth criminal, I get it. So we got it, agentic stuff is everywhere now, man. Like everybody's using it everywhere, anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. And do we see like something coming that we should worry about, or is just going to be more the same? Are we Chat GPT-5 was just released. I mean, I think Chat GPT-4 was just like a month ago, and it's like what's every month we're adding one. What's going on? Like how much faster are we moving down this road, and maybe things even change further maybe by the next month or so.
Mimi, you want to start or you want me to start?
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So think about this, that every new evolution, every new thing or something that give us for making life easier, probably going to create more vulnerabilities and more security problems. And we just don't know about it. So
every level that they increase this thing, we expect another batch of crazy stuff.
Yeah, because we just don't know what to expect. So for example, Nim mentioned about the bad guy sitting and waiting for you. So in a way, as Nim saying, they're sitting and waiting, but from time to time, they're going and communicating with the server called command and control to understand what next they should do or when they should attack. So back to Black Hat and DEF CON, guys from Zenity found a vulnerability called projection called Agent Flyer that basically they can manipulate chat GPTs and Geminis and similar one to open a document, and in this document there's going to be hidden information. And when you click summarize this document, instead of summarizing for you, it will actually go find information to the connected. So now chat GPT can connect to you Google, connect to your Google Drive or OneDrive. So they can go there like ChatGPT, get information from your documents, potentially your passwords, and then post them somewhere online for the bad guys to see. So this was not be available, let's say 6 months ago, where ChatGPT didn't have connectors to connect to your OneDrive. But now it has, so it gives us something good to do because I can go and ask my OneDrive or my Google Drive information about my files, but I can be now manipulated potentially that this information can go somewhere else because ChatGPT can now browse, it can now post or do something like that. So here's an example of, in a way, very, very good use case of using LLMs and AI that can be work against us. One example. Second example was, I believe it was, I don't remember exactly who found this information. I think somebody from Tel Aviv University, that they found because Google has a connection between Google Gemini and other Google tools. So now by giving false Google Gemini prompts, I can try to control physical devices that connecting to Google, like IoT. So it's very, very interesting way to connect several things because if I go to Gemini and say, Gemini, turn off my light because I connected my Gemini to my IoT device at home, now the prompts and we can basically hijack them and do it. Actually, I found this SafeBridge found this problem. So this is just kind of
tip of the
iceberg of how we move there and what did we learn. And Nim, we kind of spoke a bit about AI poisoning. Do you want to talk about this part as well?
Yeah, I just want to say, man, I love this thing, AI poisoning. I'm going to use this words all the time. Tell us a bit about this thing. What's going on with that?
One point I want to add on what Evgeniy said that was really important is our ability to interconnect AI systems to make them smarter, right? So there's actually a law called Metcalfe's law, right? So Metcalfe's law says that the speed at which AI grows is the square of its connected nodes. 2 nodes, 4, 16, 32, 64, 120, so on and so on. So right now we're at a speed of 100% improvement in AI logic every 7 months. But as more and more nodes get connected, it's essentially going to square itself. So we're going to see half the square root of the time in terms of doubling its capacity. I mean, that's phenomenal if you think of it. This is also pre-quantum computing. So we're not using supercomputers here. This is basic compute.
For those of you who didn't take the math course, you know, about this in the older days, it's frigging fast. All right. It's like it multiplies. It's like compound interest. Right? It really adds up. All right, man. Continue, Nim.
To AI poisoning. I mean, this is something that we've been talking a lot about with our enterprise customers who have homegrown LLMs with, in-house AI models that are being built. A true challenge is to be able to detect when people are intentionally, new form of insider threat, training the model such that it believes the lie is the truth.
Hmm.
So every time, if 6 people in the company consistently ask a question and correct AI's answer, saying this is the answer, this is the answer, this is the answer, it starts to convince itself, in fact, this is the answer. And that allows it to create a new thought branch, a new neural network off of that false information, which can significantly damage a company depending on how you're using this model. If it's a model towards, research, if it's a model towards designing something critical, if it's financials, right? I've got some pretty interesting examples where we've seen interns consistently, try to convince a model to use reference a human body part as a response for every question they ask, so that it consistently does that. So there are ways to monitor against it, but right now we're so hung up on just getting AI into the hands of the business that we're not really focusing on, hey, well, now that everyone is using it, if we have 300 people consistently putting inputs and asking and querying AI, how do we know that the answers to these questions are consistent? So if Nim and Julian ask the same thing, we should get the same answer. But yet
We get
somehow,
different answers. That'd be crazy.
yeah. And so now
Wow.
it becomes, how do you implement agentic controls that act in a supervisory capacity on top of the AI, reading not just the queries, but also the responses and trapping errors and actually convincing, basically re-encoding the LLM to say, no, that's wrong. The answer should be this, undoing the damage.
Man, we've seen this in politics. What's it called? The alternative truths, the alternative facts, right? At some point, right? If you tell something, so many times, people start to believe that stuff, right? I mean, that's the birth of conspiracy stuff, and it just seems like if AI runs amok with this stuff, who knows how it's going to corrupt, or a better word, poison, right? The actual truth within these things. Is
I
there any
do
hope
want
for us to solve this problem, or or you continue?
yeah, I want to add something here that I think important, Black, because I forgot. There is almost a new domain of cybersecurity companies and vendors that the whole purpose is now to secure agentic AI, what they can do. So towards example of Neem was saying, I am a company, I now have my own LLM. I could be a bank, I could be an insurance company, I maybe could be something else. This could be, can I poison this, for example? This could be what kind of information the agentic AI, the LLM, can get inside my company. How do I build this walls and restriction on the information it can get? What can I trick it to share it? Completely different. So I have a layer in between. Some people call it AI firewall, where every request I'm doing to my LLM going through like almost like a proxy. And if the proxy thinks this is very strange, or maybe it's a malicious prompt, I will able to block it. So there is very, very interesting domain angle of companies that will be focusing on doing this part. And right now, we probably have at least a couple of maybe hundreds different LLMs in large enterprises, and we not always know they exist. So we used to have this idea of shadow IT. Now we have shadow AI. How many LLMs I have in a company that I don't know even exist and aware, and because my researchers are playing with them.
Damn, one of the things I always kind of worry a little bit about is when these the agentic AI start talking to each other and then building their own, super connectors between each other that we don't even know that they're doing. Are we at a point now when we're thinking that these agentic AI things are actually able to sort of figure out how to talk to each other and maybe change the game, like without our input?
Well, I mean, that there was a social media post on AIs talking to each other and creating their own language, but
Yeah.
I think our logical and physical securities that is implemented, I mean, other than authorized nodes where you've, kind of decided to take, information from multiple AIs and kind of tie them together, um, there are compensating controls in place for that, right? But I don't think we're too far off from, unmanaged or irresponsible deployment of AI resulting in some sort of chaos ensuing amongst the company, right?
They just released when they released the 5, right? ChatGPT 5, they had to pull it back and release back or keep the 4.5 or whatever open because people were using it already, the older version, and they were doing some deep stuff with it, like personal things, like asking it for like mental health and things like this. And apparently, once they switched it, it sort of rewrote it or something, and then they said, "Whoa." They had to reopen it back again. Did you guys hear about that?
How did it need to reopen? I didn't dive into all the use cases of why. Again, it was during Black Hat, but I can just understand because the 4.0, the 4 mini, the 3.0, they had different models for different parts of what you do, how deep is the research. And with 5, the idea is that it will figure out by itself what to do. And I think some people just kind of align their use cases to exactly a specific
Yeah.
model.
Interesting stuff, isn't it? Let's go a little bit deeper before we wrap up here. What other things should we be worried about, or should we be thinking about with AI? Because of course everybody's racing to get AI into their businesses, right, and even personal uses and lives, right? What should we do? What kind of speed bumps should we put here?
I'll add one that I kind of briefly mentioned, but I want to kind of emphasize is if you don't know how many proprietary LLMs, agentic AI have your company, it's time to have an asset management around this. And this can include what kind of AI you have, what do they do, who is responsible on them, and how you're going to secure them. So this is one part.
Oh yeah, I echo that. Like it's time to consider unsanctioned and unsanctioned AI. So what do we authorize as a corporation and what do we not? And the other thing is, although Canada doesn't have a law yet on the ethical adoption and use of AI, which, that's coming at some point.
I hope soon.
It's our responsibility for our implied data and inferred data we're creating using AI systems to make sure that we detect and trap hallucinations and or what I call fabricated facts. It's a fact because the system's convinced this is the truth, but it's a fabricated fact, right? And bias amplifications and over reliance on AI, like to monitor which employees are actually overdoing it, because there's a limit. We need to still establish a balance between trying to get everything done through AI versus having that trust but verify and double checking the information that is being created by this inferred systems.
Sometimes you wonder if it's causing more harm than good at the end. I don't think everybody's figured out the net effect yet, but yeah, go ahead, Evgeniy.
So another part I want to add that if you're a consumer, and even if you're an MSSP or an MSP, you're still a consumer because you're going to use somebody else's software in some of the cases, definitely figure out how would you do what we call third-party assessment. When you onboard a new vendor, doesn't have to be a security vendor. This could be a CRM. This could be something else. This could be even a software that make videos for you based on the information. What kind of questions you're going to ask them to understand how they use AI, what's happening in the environment, what's happening with your data. Don't just assume because they told you it's secure. And in many cases, people just kind of blindly think that because they use something else. I give you a small example. I was presenting to a group of startups, not in cyber, and one gentleman told me, "Oh, I'm very secure. I'm using Azure." And I'm like, okay. And I was speechless because
even I know that's a bad thing.
Like nothing against Azure.
If I laugh, then you have a problem, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I understand, but it's the same as saying I'm very secure. I live in the house. Like, no, if you don't close your windows, if you don't check your windows doors, then you're not secure. You just live in a house. Azure give you a lot of different options to secure yourself, but if you don't using them, you're not secure. So the same with AI and vendors. If vendors tell you they're using AI, there's a few questions. If you guys don't have them, happy to share some of the ideas as well. Maybe we can put them on the website, Julian, just to kind of what you want to ask people, what should go in your mind.
Totally. Let's talk about some of the big takeaways that you got from Black Hat and also RSA, right? Like one product that you saw that like, oh man, that's like next level. Was there something like that, or was it just like micro improvements and stuff?
I now work for a vendor.
Well, excluding you. But yeah, is there
I
anything
won't
that
mention a name. I won't mention names, but I will say I thought it was really cool to see technology embrace the sort of the next wave of risks. So had a really great conversation with a vendor on deep fake detection, real-time deep fake detection. So when you're in a Zoom meeting, Teams meeting, WebEx meeting, or Google Meets, how to detect, is that the real NIM or is that a fake NIM?
I'd like to know that right now?
You'll
Like,
never.
is that a fake NIM or a real NIM? I don't know.
I had another chat yesterday, Julian. I'm not sure,
Well, it would be something if we have to have a verified by, AI that's your real. Oh my God. So that's interesting technology. Again, wow, because deep fakes it's not on the way, it's already here, right? Evgeniy, did you see something that was like a game-changing technology?
Yeah, but now there's something really stuck in my mind. There was a lot of very, very cool vendors, definitely. And nothing come to my mind right now. I'm probably going to remember something later
Oh,
on because
well, keep it up. Well,
I
look, I
did
mean,
talk to
there's
many
six
guys there.
thousand plus of these companies hanging around town, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's more on the way. And I think there's a lot of companies that could actually come in and disrupt this market because they're thinking something different and from a different angle, and they're figuring things out. I mean, I interview like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these companies all the time, and quite honestly, I'm always amazed of what they do. Like one thing in particular is about non-human connections, right? I didn't know it was that crazy. It's like what 80% plus of the internet connections are non-human, API to API, that type of stuff, and we don't even know what they're doing with each other, right? And we think like you and I were communicating here, but we were just in the 20% of the traffic, because the APIs is doing 80% of the internet traffic. Should we be worried about this type of like machine to machine type connectivity? How bad is it, you think?
Good. Because back to asset management, if we don't know what's happening, we cannot control and we cannot secure it. So yes, we should.
Everybody's always so calm. Like, yes, no, I get it. It's perfect. You're right. Because if we don't know what's going on out there, we don't know all this. Most people, when they do a kind of an asset discovery, they realize that they have a whole bunch more stuff than they ever even thought possible. So now we're talking about, we talk a lot about, shadow IT, but now it's like shadow AI. Is that the thing now that we got to be worrying about moving forward? Like, what's the one thing we should be thinking about for sure as we go in the next month or two?
I would say detect your AI systems. Understand, and there's technology today that you can get to also control what is sanctioned, what's unsanctioned, and also what is shared into the AI. So you could run a tool. If somebody tries to drag and drop a PDF into an unsanctioned AI, the browser says, sorry, get out of here, don't try that. But there's certain conditions. You gotta have a managed desktop. It's kind of not BYOD, it's a corporate device that has certain tools running on it. But when it all comes together, you're taking responsibility for using AI properly within the organization.
Hmm.
Right? And
I'm going to
that's
add to Neem, and I'm going to play in the idea of sanction and unsanctioned. So sanctions means somebody actually sit down and agree what you can use it. So it's mean you need to have people in your company to actually decide what is the fair use of AI in our company, internal, external, public. They maybe wrote some policy, logical policy, doesn't have to be 55 pages, could be 2-3 pages. And then based on this, we're going to say, this is good, this is bad. This is how, if you in the company, if you need access to certain systems, how do you get access? And from there, we now have sanction. So think about the idea of like maturity. I'm telling people what they can cannot use. Next level, I have a way to know what you can use and I can alert you. Next level of maturity, I can actually block the information as well.
Good stuff, my friends. Look, this stuff is like never ending, of course. It's like a long, continuous journey that goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. And the cool thing is, we're going to have an event where we're all going to get together, November 26th, I believe it is, in Toronto. So if anybody's out there, you're welcome to come and check it out. Look, we want to bring together all the stakeholders, right? Because it's not just MSPs. We want to bring them. We want to bring MSSPs. We want to bring as well all the CISOs and CIOs and these organizations and companies. who has a vested interest in cybersecurity. So we want to bring them together so they can exchange ideas and learn and network with each other. And what I'm thinking is that this allows them to build their own ecosystem, right? So they can kind of go back and go from there. Then maybe we start with you. What's your thoughts and what people are going to get out of this event?
I think it's going to be an amazing event to come and hear not just the voice of the vendor and the service provider, but the voice of the CISO and how we can bring this together to reduce the gaps in understanding and expectations so that as a vendor ecosystem, we put the customer in the center and we're all able to deliver against these needs, but also understanding what the customer expects from us.
Not just CISOs. We're going to bring CISOs from different generations.
Yeah.
We spoke about it because the work of the CISO, the responsibilities of the CISO are changing. In some cases, they are very business oriented, depending on the company. In some cases, they are quite technical if the company is smaller. So we want to bring different views, and we also want to bring information. So if you're one of these people that would like to become a CISO later on, we'll hope we can educate you and share stories, what you need to do, and lesson learned.
Absolutely. And, we started to actually post the folks on the agenda as well. Still in a work in progress, but we have this very big, exciting, long list of crazy big hitters in the industry, and we're trying to figure out what do we need to extract from this community, right? To deliver, a full experience, a full-on day, 1 day of great experience. But we've got a lot of other cool things we baked into the event. One of the things Nim and I, or Nim suggested, was that we should take our vendor talk shows and flip it into a bit of I want to say like a Shark Tank thing, where we ask questions to the vendors, each of us, to kind of dig into the bottom of like why it matters, what it does. Nim, what's your take on that?
It's yes.
We got to go there, right? Because we're kind of tired of the speeds and feeds, presentations online, right?
I'll add a bit here because I think it's going to help. Think about this, you're the customer. You have ideas what to ask the vendors. We reviewed hundreds of vendors. We spoke with hundreds of vendors. We're going to ask pointed questions that are going to help you to understand what's actually happening behind the curtain. Not just like for starting to what the problem you're solving, but against a bit deeper. How do you connect to the other ecosystem? What will you do in this case? So I hope it's going to help people that are watching and listening to us to choose a vendor, to explore the ideas, to potentially go and talk to this vendor and dive deeper to find the problem they can solve for you.
And discovering and uncovering their strengths, right? Like, how do you know what each different vendor's superpower is? The Canadian cybersecurity and technology landscape is so small. We're all cousins. And you can't put all your eggs in one basket and expect one person to know everything. But it's kind of like building a house. You bring in people who are best. Your plumber will never be your electrician. You're bringing together the best of the best skills to use them for their superpowers to get a beautiful home in the end. And exactly. If Evgeniy said, make sure you lock it.
For sure. We're going to wrap up the event with a cool program. We call the Mastermind peer group thing, where we're going to have a whole bunch of areas and tables, and on each table is going to be a different topic, like insider threats and supply chain this and AI that and so on. And so the entire audience can actually go to the table that they want, and there'll be an expert there that they can huddle and talk about what they're looking for, their challenges, and get some insights. And at the end of all that, we're going to have a designated, group leader at each of those tables go up there and kind of give a bit of a little summary of what they discovered, so everybody can get a little bit of that information as well. And we wrap this all up with another networking event so they can get together and talk and meet each other. So there's going to be lots of that available as well. So we've been making this event now for quite a while, and I think it's sort of the event of events, in that we want to build an event that we want to go to, that we believe CISOs want to go to, that we want to kind of partake. And the mission is to help the channel and the community and the CISOs to kind of push back on cybercrime a little bit better, because I think we all know this is a team sport, right? And unless you can have your little ecosystem of folks you can lean on and collaborate with, you're going to pretty much be kind of on your own. Man, let's go around for the last words here. Who wants to kick it off with the last word? Evgeniy, you first.
There's a lot of cool events in general. There is a value to go to the events, but don't forget when you go to events like Black Hat or RSA, you can always watch them also on the recording in this case. So don't forget about these options as well. If you need something, you can do it. Having said this, Julian, your event in November 26 will not be recorded, I believe so. So you should better come there and experience this in person.
Yeah, we're gonna do some recording too. We got some surprises planned, but yeah, I mean we're gonna try to scale. By the way, I just want to say all the content that we have at the event, we're gonna have extended versions. We call them overtime. So there'll be extended versions that we'll do that's virtual, that we'll record, and we'll make available to everybody who attend, because you can only get so much done in the time we've got allotted for a speaker, right? And there's a lot more depth to go into. So we're gonna allow those speakers to elaborate as deep as they want. And so if you love those topics, you can double click and you can actually watch the longer version and go a little bit deeper, and of course connect with the actual speakers too. Nim, your last word, man.
You know what? Thanks for watching, guys. But what have you done today to make AI better for your company?
There you go. Keep this conversation going, my friend. That's what we're doing. All right. And you either do something or you do nothing. Was it spectator or you're either watching or a player? You know, we want to be in the playing field.
Playing, you're watching, or you're betting.
There you go, man. I love it. All right, folks. Until the next time, we're going to talk a bit about what's going on. We'll let you know what that's going to be, when this is going to drop, and we look forward to seeing you. Come on, meet the gang. Right, November 26th. If you're in town in Toronto, come on down. All right.
Good.
Thank you for having us.